What have I done? Why are you doing this to me? Why do you hate me?
If you carry on saying that you don't believe in Islam, I don't know if you can remain in the family.
If we were back in Pakistan or Bangladesh, you wouldn't have changed.
Please come back. Please just try it. I'm not sure what's wrong with you.
There are a billion Muslims out there, so are you saying they're all wrong and you're all right?
Don't you know that you're going to burn forever in hell? What are we going to tell people when they ask us why you're not a Muslim anymore?
You know you'd be killed in an Islamic country, right?
One thing you'll hear a lot about in the news is how Islam is on the rise. And it's true. The UK's Muslim population has almost doubled in the past 10 years. But so has atheism. Nearly 1 in 5 people now identify themselves as atheists. But what about Muslims who decide to leave their faith and even become atheists or non-believers?
According to some groups, being ex-Muslim is also on the rise.
But it's a path that can be very difficult for those who decide to take it.
I'm an ex-Muslim. Ex-Muslim is someone, most of the time, it's someone who has been brought up in the faith and then they've left.
Are you from a religious family?
Very, very religious family. Yeah, my parents were religious. They brought us up to be quite strict Muslims who follow most of the rules.
This is Tawsif, which isn't his real name as he wants to remain anonymous. He's yet to come out properly to anybody as an ex-Muslim, and says he can't as he risks hurting his family and, even worse, losing his wife.
I'm married to someone who is really quite religious. If she was being honest, she was living with someone who would not only never be going to heaven himself, he would be keeping her out.
Does she look at you and think of you as a potential obstacle to getting to heaven?
Oh, definitely, yeah, definitely. She looks at me, it's difficult sometimes because she doesn't make it clear to me anymore that she loves me, mainly because of this faith thing.
Do you think you'll ever come out?
No, I don't think I will ever come out, no.
But not all ex-Muslims are anonymous. Some, like Imtiaz Shams, are very public about their decision and are quite often in the firing line of criticism for doing so.
We're in Ilford, which is like my hometown. Yeah, I'm just going to ask them. Excuse me, I'm doing a...
But he's no stranger to confrontation. I met Imtiaz in Ilford, where we'd arranged to speak to Muslims on the street, to ask them for their views on apostates like himself.
If you don't want to answer something, you don't have to, so...
I grew up in a very religiously Islamic household, and I also, for me personally, I really believed in it. But as you kind of move on through life, something doesn't feel right. You're not sure what it is, and you start looking at the world, you start searching for other things, and you look back at your own faith with sort of new glasses, I guess. I thought I was the only Muslim atheist in the world. You know, you leave and you're like, is that a thing you can do? Like, I actually came out on Facebook first, and I remember like, I don't actually know how this is gonna, and it just exploded.
Were you scared?
Oh, that time, yeah, I was scared, and I was completely scared of one thing, which is not of being hurt or not of any of that. It was that the people that I care for and the people, even the people that I haven't seen for years and years, just the rejection that you get multiplied by all of the people on my friends list or all of the people I know in my life. That was really scary.
I'm doing a documentary with BBC Two. It's about faith and belief and disbelief as well. Would you be interested in the 5-minute? Yeah.
You get people who are completely disowned, you get people who get kicked out, you get people who need to get away because their families are so controlling.
So you don't think that if a family has someone that left Islam, they can have a normal, loving relationship with it? Do you think they can or not?
It's like a bomb shell. You can't compare how it is to almost anything else. You know, it's a bit like what being gay might have been, you know, back in the 70s with white British families.
A mother and a dad and a father and their child used to be Muslim and then left. Do you think they can have a relationship?
No, they will not. The same relationship with it was, the relationship will not.
And it's something that is so alien, even in terms of thought processes, that most people don't think about it. And so when it does happen, it's it's almost treated sometimes worse than murder.
But do you not think it's possible, or do you think they shouldn't?
I think this is this will impossible.
Imtiaz estimates that there are close to 10,000 ex-Muslims in London alone. He says that going public is the only way to help Muslim families deal with this increasing situation.
There's not enough speakers out there. There's lots of young people out there who feel so alone out there. They feel like they're the only person, they're the only Muslim atheist in the world, they're the only person who left Islam, and that they're crazy for thinking so. If they tell their parents think you're crazy or you've been corrupted. The problem in Britain and the problem across the world is that we do have a more literalist interpretation of Islam, of which many scholars do say it should be death.
But is that really what Islamic scholars would say? And does anybody really believe in the idea of death to apostates? I headed to Wolverhampton to speak to a man called Paul Salahuddin Armstrong, a Muslim sheikh who converted to Islam in 2001 and is now one of the heads of the Association of British Muslims.
What does the Quran or the other hadith say to do when somebody decides to leave?
Well, I cannot deny that there are some scholars out there who do believe in this old apostasy punishment. But the thing is, the most important verse, I would say, is in Surah Al-Kafirun, because it is saying that unto you your religion, and unto me my religion. I will not follow what you worship, and you will not follow what I worship. So unto you your way, and unto me mine. This is showing respect, even to the people you vehemently disagree with.
I suppose the difficulty, though, is that if it's your son or your daughter who decides to leave the religion and the Quran is telling you that they should go on their own way, is that not in essence kind of allowing someone to remove their child, you know, to move away from them and distance themselves?
Only if the parents allow themselves to be distanced from their children will that happen.
What Islam says about apostates is a controversial question. The Quran is pretty clear in parts, saying, amongst other things, that there is no compulsion in religion. But on the topic of death, some people quote a hadith extract said to be the word of Prophet Muhammad himself, saying, whoever changes his religion, kill him. The Quran and the hadith are not the same thing within Islam though.
The Quran is the book of Allah within Islam. This is our revelation. The hadith are not a book of revelation. The hadith are a compilation of sayings that are contained within various books. There's about 6 of them within Sunni Islam. Hadith are not all divine in their source. Some of them were collected for reference purposes, and there was notes in these books that were written to say, you know, be careful of this, you know, we're not too sure if this is really accurate.
I suppose partially, though, when you have a country like Saudi Arabia where being an apostate can be punishable by death, and that is a kind of very powerful country in the world, and it's a Muslim majority country, should people not then come out and say from the Muslim community that this is wrong?
Well, lots of Muslim scholars actually do criticize Saudi Arabia, and some of them, the reality is their interpretations are backwards. Some of them are really not fit for purpose.
Do you think there is a problem in Islam about how many people kind of see people who don't follow the religion or who don't believe?
There are certainly some groups among Muslims who have some outdated views, outdated ideas on things, and some of it even medieval in perspective. But then again, you can't stop the fact that there are going to be some crazy people out there who are going to believe that.
Those kind of interpretations of Islam permeate throughout, you know, throughout India, throughout Pakistan, and they bleed over into this country.
Some ex-Muslims argue that certain people in Islam are too quick to put the blame on other sections of the religion, and as a consequence, they hide away from acknowledging the problem of apostasy in the faith as a whole.
He's a cute cat.
Like Aliyah, an ex-Muslim who's friends with Imtiaz, who I met when the pair were filming a video about Ramadan for their YouTube channel.
One of the sections in the video could be the food stuff and hydration. Yeah. Another section could be how to deal with the increased religiosity of people.
There will be this bizarre thing where I'll see, you know, spokespeople for Islam come on television, and they'll say, well, the saying about apostasy doesn't hold up, or, you know, we don't consider it to be true, or we don't follow it. Yet most of the rituals that Muslims follow in terms of how they pray or how they fast or how they draw on it from those books. So just to say that it's just a Wahhabi or a Salafi problem, it's not true. It actually sort of whitewashes what's going on. And when a Muslim scholar in certain contexts tries to say that apostasy shouldn't be punished by death, they themselves can put themselves into a dangerous situation, which may explain why not enough is being done for it. Ex-Muslims can be told, you're only doing this because you want to drink or have sex, you're doing this because you're being influenced by other people, if you do this then I don't think that you can remain in the family. Ex-Muslims have been told that they'll have their inheritance cut out, they'll be threatened to not be able to see their siblings or their nieces or nephews.
What do you want to see happen?
What I would like to happen is for Muslims to first acknowledge that there is an issue going on, that there is a serious problem within the community, where I would like to see more imams, more religious spokespeople to actually work within the community to actually say no. If your child is an apostate, that is not a reason to disown them.